So, have you ever wondered what really goes on inside your local town hall? Well, we're about to pull back the curtain on the latest council meeting for the Village of the Hills. We're talking everything from policing costs to new leadership, the decisions that actually shape your community. The meeting kicked off on a really positive note. During the public comments, a resident actually stood up to thank the council and law enforcement for their work, especially for cracking down on kids driving scooters unsafely. It's always great to see that kind of community appreciation setting the tone, right?
And that comment about safe streets, well, it leads us perfectly into the meeting's first big topic, community life and safety.
So let's look at the numbers. The Travis County Constable's Office reported 117 incidents in October alone. That number gives you a really clear snapshot of just how active law enforcement is in the village, month in and month out.
But here's where it gets really interesting when you break it down. Yeah, traffic stops are a big part of it, but look at everything else they're handling. 26 of those calls were 911 hangups, which they still have to respond to every single time. You add in the patrols and civil stuff, and you start to see a much, much bigger picture of their job.
One of the council members noticed something interesting in the data. Traffic stops were down. A lot, like 40%. So they asked the perfect question. Hey, what gives? Is this a drop in enforcement or is something else going on here? And the constable's answer was pretty smart, actually. It came down to two things. First, the simple stuff. Some officers were on vacation. But more importantly, it's all part of a strategy. They'll intentionally ramp up enforcement in an area to change driver behavior, and then they'll ease off a bit to see if those new, better habits actually stick. So it's not a lapse, it's a deliberate tactic.
Now, it wasn't all just enforcement stats. The council also focused on some good old-fashioned community spirit. The annual Santa in the Hills Park event is officially a go for December 6th. The village is even kicking in some money to make sure there's a photographer, treats, and plenty of fun stuff for the families.
All right, next up, we've got a big part of any council meeting, updates from the volunteer committees. These are the groups that handle the real nitty-gritty of village life, and it shows you how the community is actively managing itself. Here's a quick rundown of what they're up to. The Property Owners Association is tackling fence replacements and a new traffic study. The Municipal Utility District, or MUD, says the budget is looking good. And get this, the Welcome Committee just held its first new resident happy hour and someone called it the best welcome they'd ever received. That's just awesome. Okay, now we get to the topic that's at the heart of any local government, the money. The council had to face some pretty big financial decisions, and believe me, none of them were simple.
The single biggest financial discussion of the night was, by far, the 4-year contract for law enforcement with the Travis County Constables. This is a critical service, and it comes with a pretty hefty price tag that needed a very close look.
The main point of the whole debate was a potential cost increase of up to 15% per year. And this wasn't just a one-time thing. We're talking about a phased increase over the entire 4-year deal. Yeah, that number definitely sparked some immediate concern. This quote from a new council member really captures the tension in the room. He voiced his discomfort, basically saying he wouldn't want to explain a potential 60% cumulative increase to a neighbor on the street. That's a tough number to defend without the full story. Which leads us to the central question of the whole debate, right? Why such a dramatic price hike? Well, it turns out it's not really about inflation, it's more of a market correction. The village had been paying a very, very low rate for years. So low, in fact, that the county was hesitant to even renew the contract. So these increases are all about gradually getting the village's payment up to the standard rate over 4 years. It's a huge budget commitment for sure, but one they felt was necessary to lock in the service. And even after 4 years, they'll still be paying a little less than the market rate.
And the constable contract wasn't the only cost going up. The council also approved the annual financial audit, and that fee is climbing too, up about $600 from last year. It just goes to show you the cost of professional services is rising across the board.
So, with the tough financial decisions out of the way, the meeting shifted gears from budgets to governance. This is where the new council officially got organized for the upcoming term. It was a series of formal, but absolutely essential steps. First, they had to officially certify the recent election results. Then, the mayor formally welcomed everyone. And finally, they got down to appointing members to key leadership roles for the next year. And here is the new leadership team. Sarah Carroll was appointed mayor pro tem. Gary Wolf is going to serve as treasurer, and Marty Kate will take on the role of secretary. These are the key officers who are going to help guide the council's business for the next 12 months.
So what's next for this new council? Well, they're not wasting any time. Their immediate to-do list includes finalizing all the committee liaison roles, taking another look at the rules on using the city's logo, and, this is a big one, getting all the new members through their mandatory training.
And that really leaves us with this final thought. You've got a new council getting organized, and right out of the gate, they're facing a significant long-term cost increase for a critical service. It perfectly frames the core challenge ahead of them, doesn't it? How does this new group balance the very real financial pressures of running a village with the high expectations of its residents? That's the question they'll be working to answer all year long.